Ladies and gentlemen, my name is InsideJacobsMind, and it is time for my favourite video of the year. I know I'm pretty late with this one, but there's a lot of stuff that comes out really late here in Australia, but I'm back on video, and it is time to discuss my top 10 favourite movies of 2016. I live for this shit. I shaved my neck beard for this video. I did that for you guys. That's how seriously I take this, and that's how seriously I take cinema. And 2016 was a really damn solid year, honestly. I saw 139 movies that released in 2016, which is way past my personal best, so I was really happy with that. But it's just been a great year for film. There haven't been as many incredible masterpieces, but it's just been really solid overall, and there were over 50 films that I really liked and loved even. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it, because I'm only doing a 10. Last year I did 15. I'm only doing a 10 because I've got to keep it tight, so I'm going to do a bit of a lightning round of honourable mentions, because there are so many great movies that are going to miss out, and there are a lot of painful omissions from this list. Kubo and the Two Strings, probably my favourite animated movie of the year. Actually, no, definitely my favourite animated movie of the year. It was beautiful. The stop motion animation from Leica is incredible. The voice acting was great, and it's just a beautiful ode to storytelling. Other People, Saturday Night Live alum Chris Kelly's directorial debut starring Molly Shannon and Jesse Plemons. It's a family cancer drama. It surprised the shit out of me, and it's on Netflix if you want to watch. Truman, I caught it in a theatre because I got given like a cheap ticket for it, and I'm very glad I went, because this movie is a beautiful story about two friends spending their last 4 days together, and then they'll never see each other again. And it's a really beautiful movie. It's funny, it's not melodramatic, and it's really good, really well written. Christine, the movie based on Christine Chubbuck, the news reporter who shot herself live on air back in the 70s, and Rebecca Hall gives one of the best performances of the year, flat out. She should have been Oscar nominated for this. I mean, I really love this movie. It hit me on an emotional level as well. Moonlight didn't quite make my list. I know it's the movie touted to go head to head with La La Land for Best Picture. I really liked Moonlight. It's a visual poem, beautifully filmed. I just thought the third act wasn't as strong, but the performances were incredible. Naomi Harris should win the Oscar. Mahershala Ali was bloody excellent as well. Green Room, Jeremy Saulnier's second or third film, I believe, and it's so much fun. That's it. It's gory, and the violence, not often does a movie make me cringe, but this movie got the job done, because the violence is so realistic, and it's just placed on the screen for us, and this is one of the most suspenseful, intense movies you'll ever see. Train to Busan, it's a Korean movie. It's Snowpiercer with zombies is the best way I can describe it, with an incredibly human, emotional story at its core. I actually teared up at this one, but it is a really fun movie, definitely worth checking out. Nocturnal Animals, I watched this again 2 days ago, and I liked it so much more on a rewatch. It's a movie that once you think about, it's perfect. It seems a little anticlimactic when you first watch it, but it really is perfect. Jake Gyllenhaal, absolutely robbed of an Oscar nomination. I don't know why anyone didn't talk about him. He gave one of the best performances of the year in this film. 10 Cloverfield Lane, saw this really early in the year, and it stuck around. No one expected this movie to come, but it came, and it was incredible. John Goodman, fantastic. It's like those moments in a movie when you're on the edge of your seat. It's like one of those moments for the whole movie. It is really intense, and personally, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I absolutely loved the ending of this movie. Elevated it, and I loved Michelle's character arc. And my final honourable mention, this one's been flipping back and forth. I mean, it could flip back and forth again after this, but it's Hacksaw Ridge. Just doesn't quite make the cut for me. I know, I'm sorry. Andrew Garfield is incredible, and I love this movie about a genuine hero, this guy with brass balls who saved 70 lives. It's just a story of a true hero. It's a very positive, uplifting story, but it still does show the horrors of war, and the battle scenes are incredible. But yeah, no, Hacksaw Ridge would have been number 11. My number 10 is a movie that every time I thought about it more, every time I rewatched it, I just love it more and more every day. It's Captain Fantastic, and it's an indie movie about Viggo Mortensen. He plays Ben Cash. He's a father to these kids, and he's raised his kids out in the woods, him and his wife. They raised him out in the woods, so they read philosophy, they're all super intelligent, and they do like rigorous physical training and everything. But one day when this tragedy occurs, they have to go to the city, so they all pile into their bus and they go to the city, and it becomes this sort of fish out of water tale about these kids who have lived out in the woods their whole lives and are sort of experiencing the real world and social norms for the first time. And there's a lot more to it than that. It's really, really funny, but at the same time heartbreakingly sad. And the kids in this movie gave great performances. It was nominated at the Screen Actors Guild for Best Ensemble Cast, but Annalise Basso, Nicholas Hamilton, George McKay, all these kids were really, really, really good in the movie, and you buy that they're this smart. A lot of times when you see kids in movies, you know, spouting off real intelligent philosophy and shit, you're like, yeah, they're just reading from a script. But I don't know, in this movie, you buy it because the performances are so great. Viggo is incredible, and it's a movie about a lot of things, about parenting, you know, how we all have different views of how we should raise our kids. Should we be brutally honest with them, or should we shield them from reality? And this movie looks at that a lot. It doesn't force you into anything, because it is quite a political movie, but it doesn't force you into its beliefs. It's just a look at these oddballs in their corner of the world, and it's really, really great. This is a movie that I can see myself watching over and over as the years go by. I'm sorry, it's fantastic. Hunt for the Wilder People is my number 9. It comes from the mind of Taika Waititi, who sort of made his breakout with the New Zealand movie Boy, and then kind of broke out in the foreign market with What We Do in the Shadows, his brilliant, brilliant vampire comedy. And I think Hunt for the Wilder People is his best movie yet. It's set out in New Zealand, sort of out in the New Zealand bush, and you got Julian Dennison as Ricky Baker, this rebel sort of kid. He's a bit wayward, he's a foster child, he has no parents, and he's been bouncing around from home to home. And we meet him as he's meeting his latest foster family, Bella and Uncle Heck. They take him in, and he's always trying to run away, but you can see this bond forming between him and his new family, and circumstances result in him and Uncle Heck, the cantankerous old man played brilliantly by Sam Neill. The two end up getting lost in the woods together, which results in like this big national manhunt for them, and it's all played for comedy because really they're just out hanging out in the woods, but the media gets a hold of it, and there's this big, like, the army gets involved, tanks, Navy SEALs, and it's all led by this policewoman. I think she's like the child services woman or something, Paula. She was really, really funny, and it results in this crazy dramatic hunt for these two people hanging out in the woods, and it just feels like something that would have been made in the 80s or 90s. It's a big adventure, and it's family friendly. It's one of the funniest movies of the year, bar none, and it does it without relying on raunchy humor, dick jokes, and it doesn't rely. There's some great pop culture references, but it doesn't rely too much on it. It's just a funny, family friendly, super, super fun adventure.
Faulkner is Caucasian. Well, they got that wrong because you're obviously white.
Hello High Water comes from director David Mackenzie, who's been pretty well unknown for the last 10 years for some reason. He made the movie a couple years ago, Start Up, which was one of my favourite movies of 2014, starring Jack O'Connell. And he's back with this completely different movie, this neo-modern western starring Ben Foster, Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges and Gil Birmingham. And Pine and Foster play these two brothers, Toby and Tanner Howard, and they're Robin Banks. I'm not going to give away the reason, but as the movie unfolds, you learn more about why they're doing what they're doing. And despite the fact that they are committing crimes, you kind of have to root for them. And then there's Jeff Bridges and Gil Birmingham as the cop and his deputy who are trying to track them down. They get on their trail. And what I love about this movie is that it's about moral grey areas. You don't know who to root for. Both the brothers and the cops are protagonists. I mean, you genuinely want both sides to win. Evidently they can't, and you know, both sides have some winners and losers, but this is just a great exercise in storytelling. The dialogue in this movie, written by Sicario scribe Taylor Sheridan, is so natural. I'm doing this way too much with my hands, I know. It's so natural, it's so realistic, it's funny, it's not too funny, it's not over the top, it just feels like a slice of Texas. That scene in the diner with Margaret Bowman when she's telling them what not to order is absolutely hilarious, one of the funniest scenes of the year. This is one of the best performance pieces of the year. year. All four are genuinely incredible. I honestly couldn't even tell you who the standout is. This is the best Chris Pine has ever been in his career. We didn't know that he could act this good, but it's just a great, it's not challenging, it's simple, it's straightforward, it's just a brilliant story, and that is one of my favorite kind of movies.
This is what they call white man's intuition.
Sometimes a blind pig finds a truffle.
My number 7 is the third entry in the unofficial Peter Berg, Mark Wahlberg real-life tragedy trilogy. You can have that. And it's Patriots Day. I was surprised by how much I loved this. When the trailers all first came out, we were all like, oh, it's a bit too soon. I don't know, that's kind of awkward. They're not waiting very long after these disasters. But this movie was surprisingly tasteful and really respectful. It's about the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, and Mark Wahlberg plays Tommy Sanders, a cop who was on the scene when the bombing happened, and he ended up becoming like a big part of the investigation. And it's just a big look at this huge manhunt that shut down an entire city for a day. And this movie will tug on your heartstrings, I'm telling you that. There's a lot of different moving parts. It sets up a lot of characters, some victims of the blast and everything, and so yeah, we meet a lot of characters who are going to come into play later in the blast, and this sort of technique could have been, something's going to happen to them, there's no point setting up these characters, but it really works because what Peter Berg does so well is tribute the average person. He tributes the average working people and, college students, everyone, and that's what I love about his movies. He loves these odes to the common man, and I love that about this film, and it's about the big team effort to bring him down. There's John Goodman, J.K. Simmons, Kevin Bacon, a lot of people. Even the guys who played the terrorists were good, and they do get a lot of screen time, these terrorists, but they're not humanized. It shows us why they did what they did, but it doesn't try to make us root for them, I'll tell you that. But at the same time, it doesn't spread hate. This movie is hopefully not going to make people hate Muslims, because it shows that these two guys were monsters. These two guys in their head were monsters. It's not about the grander religion or anything like that, and ultimately the ultimate message of Patriots Day is love. Spread the love. Love is stronger than hate, and I absolutely loved it, and I love that they drill that home about this movie. And on top of all that, the action in it is fantastic. That shootout in Watertown, it was incredible. It's so well filmed. Peter Berg, I say this all the time, is like a good version of Michael Bay. I absolutely loved Patriots Day, and it's my favorite of this real-life tragedy trilogy.
When it comes to terrorism, everybody wants to talk. Look, you got a lot of people talking, but they're talking about the wrong people. You release the photos of our guys, sit back and listen, trust me. You gotta start letting Boston work for us, I'm telling you.
We are Sing Street! This is another movie that came out real early in the year that stuck around, and it stars newcomer Ferdia Walsh-Pilo as this kid Connor Lawler. He's been transferred from his private school to a public school, so he's struggling with that, but he meets a girl. It's a classic boy meets girl, a coming-of-age romance kind of story, and this girl, played by Lucy Boynton, and to get her attention, he tells her that he's in a band and asks her to be in his music video, so, she's like, okay, and he goes off, and he's like, well, fuck, we have to start a band now. So him and his new friends start this band called Sing Street, and, they fall in love with the band, they become good friends, they start making good music, and, the songs in this movie are amazing. I'm not even going to get started on how none of them were Oscar nominated, but okay, Academy, let's give it to Can't Stop the Feeling, or that fucking Sting song instead. That's a tongue twister, whatever. But no, Sing Street is an ultimate feel-good movie, and I was talking about Peter Berg's real-life tragedy trilogy. This is John Carney's amateur musicians start a band with a will they, won't they romance at the center of it trilogy, because Once and Begin Again came before this. They were both excellent, and Sing Street just might be the best. It is such an optimistic story, about trying to follow your dreams, finding something that you love, finding someone that you love. The romance in this movie really works because of the performances, the dialogue, and it's just a tribute to music. It's set in the 80s, and there's a lot about that sort of time period, what with music videos just coming into prominence and stuff like that, and it's a fucking good time, this movie, seriously. If you haven't seen Sing Street, I think it's on American American Netflix now, so you have to check it out. So we've just talked about the uproariously uplifting Sing Street. Now it's time to bring it down a couple notches. My number 5 is Manchester by the Sea. Now this has been touted as the sad one, the extremely bleak movie. Now, Manchester by the Sea, it is a very sad movie. It's a heartbreaking movie, but I don't think it's as bleak as everybody says. It's a funny movie. And I don't mean, a lot of the stuff that happens in it is funny. There's a lot of jokes and human moments of levity that really, really worked for it. And I think I didn't leave the movie wanting to cut myself. I left the movie feeling a little bit of hope. And that's what I loved about this movie, and it surprised me with that. But, I'm not to downplay the sadness, because the story, right, it's about Casey Affleck. He plays Lee Chandler, this standoffish kind of janitor in Boston, and we meet him and stuff. But then one day his brother dies of a heart attack, pretty young. He's like in his 40s or something. So he has to go to his hometown of Manchester by the Sea to go and look after his nephew, Patrick, played by Lucas Hedges. And he has to wrestle with, maybe having to become his guardian, because in his brother's will, he unknowingly put Lee as to be the guardian of his son, but he doesn't really want to do that because he has his own past with this town, and he wrestles with that and wrestles with why he left in the first place and about trying to bury his past. Not going to spoil it because there are some reveals in this movie, things that you learn. I didn't cry in this, but, I might as well have, because this is a movie that hits you very, very hard. And I love the relationship between Lee and Patrick, because a lot of these types of movies where an uncle has to bond with his nephew or whatever, they usually start out hating each other, and so like, fuck you, and then they come together and bond. It's a little more grey than that. They start out, and, they're friends, they obviously have a bond with each other, and they get along well, and they have their ups and downs and everything, but it just felt like such a real relationship. Casey Affleck's incredible. He's probably going to win the Oscar. I have another person who I would rather win, but someone who wasn't nominated, but we'll get to that later. But no, Casey Affleck is incredible and truly does deserve to win the Oscar if he does, which he will. And Lucas Hedges I thought was incredible. He just about might be my favourite supporting performance of the year. I would have no complaints if he won the Oscar. He won't, but it would be great. But Manchester by the Sea is a movie that it sneaks up on you and it grows on you the more you think about it. Because when I saw it at first, I was a little underwhelmed, and then it's been about a week since I saw it, and just every day it claws into your mind, and you're like, God, I really love this movie, and I have just such a severe urge to watch it again. Out of all the movies on this list, if I could watch one of them right now, it would be Manchester by the Sea. It's a really, really fascinating look at grief, and it's one that I can see becoming a future classic.
No, I don't want to talk about that right now.
You said you left you money so you could move.
Yeah, that doesn't mean...
Anyway, what's in Boston? You're a janitor.
So what?
You could do that anywhere. There's plenty of toilets and clogged up drains all over town.
My number 4 is Swiss Army Man. Swiss Army Man comes from directors Dan Kwan and Dan Scheinert, collectively known as the Daniels, and they're music video directors known for their music video for Turn Down for What, something I've covered before on this channel. But this is their feature film debut, and, you can really see their style coming through. But if you don't know what Swiss Army Man is or what it's about, the opening scene, we meet Hank, played by Paul Dano, and he's stranded on this desert island. We meet him as he's about to kill himself until a mysterious body wearing a suit washes up on shore, and the body starts farting and sort of he realizes that it can propel itself through the water with its farts. This body played by Daniel Radcliffe, of course. So what Hank does is he gets on the body and he rides him to the mainland, and that's the opening scene of the movie. And yeah, so if that turns you off, then you're probably not going to like this movie. But what I'm getting at is, this has been billed as the farting corpse movie, but it is so much more than that. The two, they make it to this mainland, but they're still very, very far away from home, and eventually you realise that this corpse can talk. His name's Manny, and he starts to learn how to speak, and he can't really move, so Hank has to operate him like a puppet, but he learns how to speak, and the two start this friendship. They talk about life, and they have to try and help each other get home. And the title Swiss Army Man is because he has all these abilities. He can use him to do shit. It's so fucking original, this movie. He can chop trees down with his arms. He shaves his beard with the corpse's teeth. He can shoot rocks out of his mouth and catch fish. He's a multi-purpose tool guy, as they say in the movie. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful story of friendship. I don't think it's weird. I think it's beautiful. This movie... Everybody saying this movie is weird are exactly what this movie is criticizing. This movie is about learning to embrace your inner weird side. They talk about life. They talk about awkward subjects like masturbation and sex and love. And it's about learning to love, learning to, it's about friendship. These two struck up this beautiful, beautiful friendship. It's one of my favorite on-screen couples, and they're not even a romantic couple. They're just best friends. And, they talk about everybody wants to fall in love. Everybody wants to find someone, and I think it's a beautiful movie about humanity. It's about insecurity, set against this really, really wacky and out there story of this magical fighting corpse. I absolutely adore Swiss Army Man. I mean, who would have thought a movie about a fighting corpse would have given me one of my most emotional and most inspirational cinematic experiences of the year? Seriously, if you've been turned off of Swiss Army Man because of the subject matter, I implore you to watch it, because this movie blew me away. P.S. The soundtrack is fucking amazing. You see how I didn't use any music for that one? Because it's called Silence? Yeah, it's clever, wasn't it? So that's been a bit of a pattern on this list, going from some really fun, uplifting movie down to something not so fun and uplifting, but this is Silence. It is from the master, Martin Scorsese. It's the first time I've ever gotten to see a Scorsese film in the theatre, because I was under 18 when Wolf of Wall Street came out. And it's been his passion project for like 20 years. It's based on this book from like the 70s, and he's been wanting to make it for many, many years, but he felt like he wasn't ready. And I can see why, because this movie tackles some heavy shit. Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver star as these two Portuguese Jesuit priests, and it's set in the 17th century, and the two decide to head to Japan, the very, very anti-Catholic at the time Japan, to try and find their wayward mentor, played by Liam Neeson, and to propagate Christianity over in Japan, because there's a lot of people in sort of pockets at the country that are Christians, but they're being persecuted, they're being tortured, they're being like crucified, and fucking a lot of torture stuff. There's a bit of torture in this movie, I'll let you know. But this movie should not have hit me the way it did, but it did. It is a near 3-hour epic, and it's grueling. There is very little happiness in this film. Like, people talk about Manchester by the Sea being bleak. Silence is fucking bleak, but it's about these men who owe so much to their faith, and we watch their faith be tested against incredible odds, incredibly extreme and brutal situations, both emotionally and physically. And take this from me, if you know me, I'm an atheist. I'm not a big fan of religion, and this movie broke my heart. A big chunk of the movie is these religious people being forced to step on a picture of Christ, to like apostatize, to denounce their religion, and that's what everyone's being forced to do. And if you don't do it, you're basically going to get tortured. And Garfield's character becomes sort of one of the last priests in the country that hasn't either been killed, left, or apostatized. And we follow his story, all the shit that he goes through, and just the ending of this movie, without spoiling anything, broke my heart. I cried in this movie a lot. I cried in a movie about people losing their faith and trying to hold on to it. Me. This movie broke my heart. I think it's a masterpiece. Scorsese, after 50 years in the business and like 24-something films, the man can still surprise us. This is a beautifully shot movie, beautifully written movie, and it's a crime that this movie flopped at the box office. And, this is all of your fault for not going to see it. I traveled 4 hours to see this, among other movies. But, you know, it's sad that Scorsese's probably the only guy who could get away with making something like this 2 hour, 40-minute long religious epic. And I feel like with this flopping, no one's ever going to be allowed to attempt something like this again. But I hope people do find this as it comes to home media, because it's an incredible film, and I think people are going to look back in 10 years and realise that they were wrong about it.
Don't move. Someone's here watching us.
What the fuck? Sorry guys, that was just my dramatic reenactment of me when I learned that Amy Adams didn't get Oscar nominated for her performance in Arrival. Yeah, I don't know either. Arrival is my number 2. I'm a sci-fi guy. You know I love sci-fi. I love The Martian last year. Every year it seems we get that one big sci-fi movie. We had The Martian 2015. No, not last year. This was last year. We had Interstellar before that. We had Gravity. But, we also had Passengers this year, but that was... Let's not talk about Passengers. That was not good. Arrival, this movie was made for me because it's an optimistic science fiction movie, something we don't get a whole lot of these days, and it's a smart science fiction movie. It's one that makes you think. It's a bit of a head fuck without going into any spoilers, but this is from director Denis Villeneuve, the budding master filmmaker. Seriously, Prisoners, On Sunday, Sicario, this guy knows what the fuck he is doing, and Arrival is another big win for Denis Villeneuve, however I'm pronouncing it. I'm sorry, you Canadian bastard, you Canadian beauty, I love you, Denis. Please just keep jizzing on my face with all these great movies. This is just him getting his tip wet with the sci-fi genre before he goes on to do the Blade Runner sequel. They could not have picked a better guy for the job. I'm rambling, but Arrival is about Dr. Louise Banks, this expert linguist played by Amy Adams, and she is tapped to go when these 12 alien spacecrafts land on Earth. She is tapped by the government to go and try to figure out how to communicate with them, and that's what this movie is. It's a movie about the importance of language and how language can shape the way we view the world. Well, that's a theory. But it's about the importance of communication. In this movie, instead of being like, let's fucking blow up the aliens, it's a movie that promotes peace. It promotes the notion of world peace and how it is essential that we as human beings have to communicate with each other. We're not going to get anything fucking done if we aren't communicating with each other. And Amy Adams' character sort of brings this all together. I can't go into too many spoilers. The alien characters are very fascinating. I can't go into anything about this without spoilers, but it's a head fuck. It's an incredible movie. I think the original title, Story of Your Life, is a perfect title for this film. It's based on a short story, but this is a beautiful film. It's technically perfect. Everything, the cinematography, the music, the direction from Denis Villeneuve, the performances. Amy Adams, why were you not Oscar nominated for this? But no, Arrival is such a smart movie. I've seen it twice. It's definitely better on the rewatch because there are layers to Amy Adams' performance, and I can't wait to watch this one again and again and again and again. Arrival is incredible.
That's a proper introduction.
I think about that day, first time I saw La La Land, it blew me the fuck away. I'm not gonna sing for you guys, I'm sorry, it's not happening. It's La La Land. Was it ever not gonna be La La Land? This shit has been the soundtrack to my life for the last 3 months now. I saw this movie 7 times in the theater, 7, and I would have seen it more if it stayed in my town for more than a fucking week and a half. But La La Land, it's magic, what can I say? There's been all this backlash for it over the past few months because everybody's mad that it got a lot of Oscar nominations and everyone's calling it everything from racist to, Hollywood jerking itself off. But like, this is Damien Chazelle's passion project. He burst onto the scene with Whiplash in 2014, one of the best movies of that year. But this is the movie he really wanted to make. He's been spent 6 years trying to shop this around Hollywood to get it made, and he just wanted to make a modern day Hollywood musical, and he exceeded even his own wildest dreams, I think. The songs in this movie, some of the best I've ever heard. I've listened to this soundtrack over 50 times. I listen to it every day. It's beautiful. Justin Hurwitz is a god. I want him to score every movie from now on, but this is going to win Best Original Score at the Oscars. The epilogue piece at the end is absolutely incredible, but enough about the soundtrack. About the movie. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling play these two dreamers in Los Angeles, and this movie makes Los Angeles look romantic again. It makes it look like this beautiful city, when nowadays it's starting to kind of become known as this sort of scummy sort of place. But this movie makes La La Land beautiful again. She's an aspiring actress. He is like a jazz musician. He wants to open his own club. The two meet, in a very cute sort of way, and they begin to fall in love and start up this relationship. And what I love is it's like those old school musicals. It's like characters just bursting into song on a whim to say things that they can't express with words. There's no explanation for it. There's no like, oh, they're gonna sing now. It's just like, fuck you, we're singing. That's what the opening scene of this movie tells us with the song Another Day of Sun. This one take epic number that they close down an actual highway for. And that's what this scene tells you. It's like, fuck you, this is going to be a musical. And if you listen to the lyrics of that song, it basically sums up the entire theme of the movie, about dreamers, about dropping everything, sacrificing everything, moving out to LA and chasing your dreams, being an actor, a singer, or whatever it is that you want to be. It's something that Damien Chazelle did, and it mirrored his own experiences with coming to the city. It's beautifully shot and filmed. There's this purple tint over the whole movie that's absolutely gorgeous. That lovely night scene, very, very reminiscent of Singing in the Rain. And yeah, you can tell this was heavily influenced by a lot of movies, Singing in the Rain, the Jacques Demy, French New Wave sort of musicals. But it all comes together to be entirely its own sort of beast. The ending, the 7-minute epilogue sequence, I think it's one of the best things ever put on screen. Bar none, it's incredible. I tear up hearing the music from it because I'm like, oh my god. Emma Stone's performance of the song Audition, which should win the Oscar for Best Original Song, City of Stars probably will, but Audition, the way she sings that song, she sung it live, the way she performs that scene, that is hopefully going to win her the Oscar. I get chills every time I hear that song, and there's not much I can say that hasn't already been said about La La Land. I don't have anything new to add. I'm just another dreamer. I absolutely adore everything about this film from start to finish. I could watch it every day and not get sick of it. It is absolutely magical, and I think this is going to be a go-to whenever I'm down, and I'll put this on to cheer me up. It's La La Land. It's one of the best films I've ever seen. Damien Chazelle is going to be a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood if he keeps putting out stuff of this high level. I hope La La Land doesn't go down as his masterpiece. I hope he just keeps getting bigger and better. I know he's doing a Neil Armstrong, the astronaut guy, that's the one. He's doing a Neil Armstrong biopic next, I believe, starring Ryan Gosling as the man. So that'll be interesting. I don't think there'll be any musical numbers in this one, so it's probably going to be a piece of shit. But no, seriously, Damien Chazelle, he is here to save cinema, guys. He is here to save cinema. I love this movie. It makes me weak. It makes me want to fall in love. It makes me want to, I don't know, it just makes me want to it makes me feel things. It's La La Land, seriously. I'm just unabashedly loving this movie. I'm not buying into any of the backlash or all this bullshit. I think the way everyone was reacting when it first came out, it's still the way I'm reacting. I'll never forget the first time I saw this. I was just on such a high after the movie. I just wanted to go sing and dance through the fucking streets. It's La La Land. I'd better stop before I start getting on people's nerves. But that's it. That's another year in cinema done and dusted. I live for this shit. I put so much work into watching as many films as I can every year. I love it. I love doing it. I love cinema. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Please check out my other channel if you are into film, Children of Film. We do a podcast pretty much every week, movie reviews and all that jazz. Join our Facebook group, Indie Movie Discussions. We've almost got 500 members, and we talk about movies and stuff there. But no, seriously, thanks for watching this. Thanks thanks for being patient with the direction my channel has taken, because I'm not really an angry guy anymore. I'm a real happy sort of guy, and yeah, this is my passion now. So thanks for watching. Here's to an even better 2017. It's off to a pretty good start so far. I fucking loved Split, guys. That movie was awesome. But anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very pleasant day. Here's to the fools who dream.